general tab.
Sorry about that.
Perfect. No, we're the doctor hat on.
Yeah, all those
Doctor
degrees. I can't even join the right live video session.
No worries, it happens. It's all learning experience, obviously.
For sure.
So you were mentioning you're certified school psychologist. That's your educational background.
Yeah, that's my background. I obtained the school psychology certification, and I did work in schools for quite some time. We could go into that more later if you'd like, but
Okay.
I also, at the same time, I pursued my master's and doctorate from Rutgers in applied psychology. So what drove me to that was the options that I would have getting a doctorate as opposed to, sticking with the master's, and with that, sticking with school psychology, and there wasn't too much wiggle room in terms of like where you wanted to go after. So,
Of course.
so I was, continuing on with my journey. I've been very grateful that I did get the doctorate because I could explore more clinical work with the psychology. So I'm actually going to be starting at a private practice, doing strictly therapy and psychological assessments. It's out in Freehold, New Jersey.
Awesome, very good. And what interested you to get into psychology itself?
Yeah, so I always had a natural drive and a natural ability with helping others.
Okay.
So that's what pulled me towards psychology. I remember changing my major a couple of times in college.
Of course, that happens to all of us.
That's all of us, but just very uncertain, very unsure of what path to take. I thought about teaching because I love children.
Okay.
So I thought about that, and then sort of in college, how they place you in the beginning into general classes, like randomly?
Of course. Yeah.
So I had done that the first semester, and I got placed into a gen psych, the general psychology course that like everybody takes.
Psychology 101 type of thing?
Yeah, that's what it was.
Okay.
And I just loved it.
Nice.
I loved the class, and I didn't want to stop taking classes. So I remember sitting in my dorm room, and I Googled, what can you do with education? Because that was my major at the time, and psychology. Okay. And school psychology came up. So in the search, and I explored what it was and how you could, do counseling in the schools, how you could do assessment, how you would work with teachers to help the children learn, academically, mentally, do school-wide programs. And, I pursued it.
Awesome. Very, very good. That's awesome. And now you pursuing things with Soul Center, really desire to make a positive impact and share your story, share your light, obviously.
Yes, exactly. And, the original, being in psychology, I think that gave me the ability to help kind of in that arena and help mentally. But, I would work with clients, Chris, with therapy, and of course you can make great progress, but, really lifestyle changes have to be made. And I really do believe in the mind, body, and soul are one, and that it should be treated as such, right? So if I'm just treating the mind with therapy, that's great, and we can make strides. But if that same client, and I always use this example, is going home and eating Burger King 3 out of the 4 nights, it's tough to feel good because of that gut mood connection. So I really, with soul, I'm really doing a wellness and well-being, overall well-being perspective. So it's different, and I think it's more fitting for me.
That's awesome. That's something that actually was part of my holistic health coaching program, is the Circle of Life, which I showed you, and about how everything. Tell me
more about that.
It was an amazing program, and that's kind of my personal approach, the Institute for Integrated Nutrition. And half of them, each module was the lifestyle factor, their circle of life factor, your environment, your family, your community, your relationships, your job, your career, play. Any kind of, we've talked about this, through texting as well. play is different for all of us. Play could be going and doing karaoke. Play
Yeah.
could be just taking a walk in the park, doing yoga, etc. And how
Drawing.
all of these pieces work together, we all relatively know what a quote unquote healthy diet is. And we can eat all the kale and broccoli every day in the world. It's great for the fiber and your gut and all. But if we're not happy, if you
Yeah.
don't have fulfilling relationships, if you don't have a career where we're excited about, we're working towards, our
Yes.
body's not going to digest it.
Nope.
It's just going to sit there. We're going to be stressed out. We might not digest it properly. We're going to be stressed out. So everything's going to be like 1/3 of the equation is going to be there, or like be less or more than that. But we're still going to be off kilter. I remember
Right.
trying to eat really well, but like I was like in the transitional period between jobs and careers and everything before we started working together at the gym. And I would eat lots of food, but I would never feel full
Right.
because I was not in alignment. I was not centered with my overall self and well-being. So that's when it seems like you take a similar approach when working with clients for the overall health and well-being, but not just your mind, which is extremely important, but also what you put in your body, how that affects you. Do
Right.
you have the relationships, whether it be boyfriend, girlfriend, et cetera,
Yeah.
family relationships, how it all works together.
Right.
It's a huge piece of the puzzle.
Absolutely.
And,
I love how you
and
mentioned that piece about, the rest of the lifestyle, even, the healthy eating and the exercise, but, also familial relationships, boyfriend, girlfriend, are those being healthy? Because that also will impact you. Like you said, you can eat all the kale and broccoli, but, how are the other things? Because each thing impacts you, and each thing needs alignment, to feel that, that you're healthy, to feel it.
it's a wholeness to yourself,
Right. Right.
basically.
Tell me a little bit about your journey going back, or tell our
Sure.
listeners.
Of course. Hi, Kelly. It looks like
Because I
Kelly
know.
just joined
Oh, hey,
everyone.
Kelly.
There we go. It looks like I have a new person there.
Kelly, I
Over
grew
the
up with.
course, oh, awesome. Nice to meet you, Kelly. I've always loved helping people, making a positive difference in people's lives. It's always come naturally to me. I think we could have
Mm,
recognized that work each other years ago,
yes,
and
like me.
even now, obviously. And originally, I went to school for psychology, social work. I
That's right.
realized that wasn't my exact path, even though I still love the field of it. I
Yeah.
wasn't sure I wanted to be around depressed people all day because I'm an
Yeah.
empath, and I knew I had to put a block there, and it would almost take
Yeah.
me down.
Yeah. You know
And
what?
being,
I do know what you mean by that, in terms of, because I feel people's energy pretty strongly.
of
So
course,
it does, as an empath, drain you a bit, but, also on the same hand, I realized how much, it inspires me to see growth and help others. So I knew I wanted, to stay in the sector of healing and helping.
of course, and I completely, and you certainly doing that, and I can certainly see that in you. So I started taking psychology classes, and I love them, and I still love learning about more of the positive aspect of psychology.
Yeah, exactly.
That I feel very strongly in certain situations. I wasn't sure how I would handle the bipolar classes and the death and dying classes and those
Hmm.
transitional classes to other aspects
Really
of
tough.
psychology. Completely normal. It's part of life in a sense.
Not bright and sunny topics.
Right.
uh,
It's not the self-help portion. It's more the other aspect of life,
yeah.
which is completely natural. So I went back and forth with technology and marketing, and I love the psychological aspect of marketing because it's just finding out people's needs and their goals and
Right.
finding a goal and helping them work towards it. And
Right.
it's similar to a practice. Okay, what are your goals? Are your goals for more energy? Are your goals for a better career, relationships, etc.? So even with marketing, when you work on products and services, if someone is looking for more energy, or if there's looking for immune support or just digestive support, we find a need and we can find out a way we can support that as well. So I love I've always been a seeker in a sense as well. So I got into marketing, the health and wellness field in 2005, while I was looking for opportunities aside from a regular job. And I started to love it. and I began to go on my own personal wellness journey in late 2008 when I began to cut out sugar and gluten from my diet. And I've been gluten free for 12 and a half years, and it's been an amazing
Wow.
journey. And it seems like from what you've experienced, you've began to cut it out as well, and you had a good experience as well.
Yes, I did. I did cut that out as well. There's of course the occasionals where you do have it, but
Of course.
you notice, and it's good that
Yeah.
that I do that, because then I can then again notice that it affected
Right.
me negatively, and then I get back on track even stronger. Because once you have it and you notice the bloat, or you notice the, oh hey,
Brain fog.
boom, boom, he's on.
Oh, cool. How you doing?
And I'm not sure, who is Haley, a friend of yours?
I'm not
Haley.
that know. I guess she's someone that found us somewhere.
Okay. Hey, Haley. So, what was I just saying? Oh, gluten-free. Yeah. So
Yes.
then once you then again see how it affected you negatively, and I'll even the very next morning get a headache, or I'll just feel like kind of like not good, not great,
Brain
like
fog.
bloating. Yeah, bigger. So, yeah, I absolutely agree with you on the gluten-free.
So that
Cutting
kind
out.
of started
Hi,
me on my
Carla.
first. Hey, Carla, how you doing? Hope everything's going well there. So that kind of transitioned me into my personal wellness journey, learning how foods interacted with me, and so forth, and while also incorporating really high quality nutritional products that made a difference. And quite often, I would take them and I would notice a difference, but I would
My
also notice
sister just joined.
how you doing, Maria? Welcome, everybody. Glad to see everyone on. And I
Yeah,
also
it's
noticed
so good to see you guys.
a difference when I would stop taking them, or if I'd take them later in the day.
Okay, so
So
what did you notice? What did you notice with, what were you taking, and then what did you notice?
I was taking the Cell Essentials,
Okay.
which is introduced to you as well, and
Yes.
which is, you've had some good experience as well, and
Yes.
I would notice like a lift in my brain fog shortly after taking them when I initially took them. But then if I had like a lazy morning, if I forgot to bring them with me that day, I would notice that, whoa, at 2 o'clock, and then I took it, holy crap, I just made a big difference. Why didn't
Yeah,
I
I
take them?
remember you taking them religiously when we worked together at the gym. You would take out your lunch, and there would just be all of the vitamins lined up.
Exactly. And
And
that's why you can go.
no, I was just gonna say, before I got really sick, which was 6 months ago, I
Right.
never really took vitamins. We would, my family and I would take, vitamin C, just the normal ones, but, from the
Of course.
drugstore, thinking those were, helpful. And
Of course.
they're not unhelpful,
Of
but,
course.
they're also not, pure, and they're not, tested for the toxins like the vitamins that I take now.
Of
Um,
course.
but they play, a big role in my energy and the clarity, like you said, releasing the brain fog for any of you listening that do have. So, your body, you can eat healthy foods and that gives you nutrients, but there's just things that the vitamins give that food doesn't. And it's sort of a boost because your body doesn't naturally have it, right? So you need that
Correct.
supplement.
And especially nowadays, with everything that's going on in the world, it's
Yes.
even as important to support our health and well-being, and give our bodies what it needs that it can't get from food alone. And
100.
it's a lot of times we're not can't make any claims, obviously, for anything, but a lot of lifestyle thing is pretty much the same now as it's going to be 6 months from now as
Yeah.
it was 6 months prior to now. It's really the
Right.
basic things that I believe that we can do to support our health and well-being. Drink
Yeah.
more water, go on a
Yeah.
walk, which is a
Yeah.
form of play, which is a form of recreational activity, which can also clear our head and kind of
Yeah. I
get
love
ourselves
that.
out of the social media funk that some people can get, the scroll funk that some people can get in.
Yeah,
So,
I don't think there's a awareness with the social media scroll, or the news
right,
people, the news watchers, the avid news watchers. I mean, I think what I'm trying to say is, if you're watching the news, or you're scrolling through Facebook or Instagram, mindlessly. I think that, you know, maybe we could just tap into some body awareness, see how that's making you feel. Are you getting any, you know, chest pain? Are you getting any sort of heavy breathing or heart palpitations? Because that could really be, you know, you picking up on other people's energy, whether that be the news, the way the news is presenting, or you're picking up on somebody's posts and that's making you feel a certain way. So have that body awareness, and then, you know, limit the news exposure, or limit the scrolling, or unfollow certain people. Because I know you said you did that with COVID. You unfollowed.
Yes, I did lately. And it's a balance of, okay, I like this person. Maybe in 3 months they'll have something nice to say that I want to see. So I'll maybe try and follow them back. Or unfollow is cool because they don't know you did it. You're still friends.
Yeah,
so they can still see your stuff, which is cool.
You're not trying to cause harm by unfriending, but, you know, sort of, I don't want to see you posting about how, you know, the rates went up, because we know what's happening, you know, but.
Of course. And who knows what, exactly. So it's a safe way to do it if you're getting overwhelmed with it. I notice that as well. Sometimes, you know, you wake up or you're at night, you know, you're just doing your thing and you're like, okay, what's going on? What's this person up to? It's like, oh crap, this person is whining about this, and this, or what this person said, what that person said, which we all have a good reason to, you know, be upset for one reason or another.
Yeah.
But in the long run, especially at night, concentrating on that, putting our awareness and attention on what's going on in the world outside of our own personal bodies, can be an issue. And I think I mentioned to you that, you know, working with a client a couple months ago, she mentioned she was having a problem sleeping through the night. So just like basically asked her what her sleeping routine is, and she said, just get ready for bed, and she watches the news at night. I'm like, it's not going to end well.
No.
I watch the 11 o'clock news. That's not going to end well. So I just recommended to her that if she tried to stop watching the news at night and see how it works. And basically the next day or the next couple of days or so, she's like, I'm sleeping through the night. And I'm like, there you go. It's such a simple fix that can make a big difference overall.
Yeah, and some people just don't realize it, you know?
It's you don't realize that your body's getting stressed out from watching the news, getting exposed to everything.
Well, that's
hearing
why
that,
noticing the physical body is so huge, you know? And I think, you know, I think I could give a couple tips.
Of course,
for anybody experiencing some stress. You know, I really think like staying in the present moment helps, you know, which is a form of mindfulness. So, you know, anxiety typically comes from sort of anticipating something bad happening in the future, or you're rehashing something that already happened and replaying it and kind of getting anxious or depressed about it. So kind of just reminding yourself to be here and now, because here and now everything's all good. I think that's a huge one.
Thank you. Excellent.
Any kind of meditation or deep breathing, right? And I can post some resources for this on my page, but you know, guided meditations off YouTube, Headspace, just your own deep breathing. I can post some scripts for people. Journaling. So that's just kind of writing down all the thoughts in your head. You don't have to ever look at it again if you don't want to. And again, you know, I brought up the oils a couple times we've talked about, and I really do believe in the power of them. They're calming and then invigorating. So like the lavender and eucalyptus, diffuse at night, and then orange, lemon, grapefruit, those kinds in the morning for energy.
Perfect.
Do you have any ideas on your mind?
Sure, and that's kind of find out what works best for you in the moment with regard to setting yourself. I think I did a podcast a couple months ago, and right next to where my couch is, I have pictures of he was much younger at the time, but he's now almost 3 years old, my nephew.
Yes.
And he's truly the love of my life. In my body, I've always wanted a kid, so he's kind of close to having a kid, but not really. Yes. But I'll either look at pictures of my nephew right next to me and I'm like, hey buddy, how you doing? or I'll look at pictures that's in my phone,
That
with the
is so
pictures or
sweet.
videos, and it's just a way to center myself.
Yeah.
Whether it's a picture of him and I together, a picture of him playing, a video of him like
Beautiful.
chatting away, talking about something, and it's just a really a great way for me to center myself to things that I appreciate, things that I
Right.
love, which is family, togetherness, connection,
Yes.
and it's really
Family and
always going
loved
to be
ones. That is so,
exactly. And when am I going to see, just like, okay, cool. I look forward to seeing my little dude Felix sometime in the future,
right.
playing together and throwing the ball together and stuff. So I found it a great way to center myself, to keep things going. Okay, this is really cool, something to look forward to. I look forward to
Right.
playing with him. I look forward to having time with the family. Or if it's, a yoga session to, my favorite music, whatever it might be. And and you've probably heard this as well, a good way to center yourself is to kind of look around the room and
Yes.
like, okay, this is the couch.
Yep.
This is the bowl. This is everything you see to really bring yourself back to the present moments.
Yes, absolutely.
And
Especially during panic attacks, if you can look around the room and pick out five things, that you can see, that's a good place to start. Thinking about, a couple of things that you can hear, smell, touch, and that brings you back to sort of reality and grounds you. So that's sort of a calming technique, which is great. You mentioned yoga, which has really been my sanity throughout
of course,
past 10 years, but also through um, the quarantine. So, I highly recommend it. I'm going to be offering classes through Soul pretty soon. So
awesome,
keep a lookout for that.
awesome. How's your experience been overall with what's gone on in the past couple of months or so? Things you want to share, things you've learned, you've grown from, and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely. At first, of course, I think it's tough, for everybody to kind of process everything. And this is new for everybody. And this is kind of traumatizing for everybody, right? Because everybody, some people, they have the financial stress. Also, they can't do what they normally would do socially. Some people, that's what their lives are, pretty much centered around. They're going out and doing things. Sports were canceled. So
Right.
it's obviously a time of mental anguish for people, but I think what got me through it, not only by doing self-care with yoga and meditating, getting outside in nature as much as possible, that was still allowed for most of the pandemic.
Your
So
backyard is cool.
backyard, I did walks, hikes, socially distant. I went by the beach a lot, so I nature really kept me grounded.
Awesome.
Also, your mindset is huge, and I work on this with clients with soul. Um, I started thinking about it as more of, not so much as, I'm not allowed to do this or that, and like life's changing, but, also I have this time to spend in some different way. And I actually found myself to be getting more creative, and I actually started writing a book. I started Soul, so I can't really look too harshly on this time, because it actually wound up being a very good time for me to just focus on me. And I understand that not everybody is having that experience, that it's really just affecting some people differently, and they really need to do other things for their self-care. Maybe they're not
Of
as
course.
productive, and that's them. But what about you? What was your experience like quarantine?
Thank you for sharing. It's been an interesting experience overall, and I like to I think you would agree with this, to meet someone where they are.
Yes.
So don't push yourself too much where you're gonna go crazy. Like, I can't do this. You can't push someone to out of their personal area. But if you're okay, if you feel comfortable going and taking a walk, or going and doing a comfortable distance walk, or being around people, the first 8 to 10 weeks were interesting. It was very much a what's going on. I was very much used to going and hanging out at the health food store co-op and working my laptop and bringing out people, and then going to networking events for business and so forth, which is just fun, and I like being around people as well. So it was like, okay, what's going on? It's like, in the beginning, I'm like, okay, 2 hours passed, 3 hours passed, we're getting there. we're getting there. We just did 2 weeks. I'm fine. I made it through it. And then, okay, we got a month through. We're doing fine. We're staying healthy. We're eating food. We're doing what we can. So after a certain point, I learned to just control what I can control.
What do you mean by that, Chris?
That's a very good question. While I can't control what goes on in the world, I can't control what the government does, what any restrictions do. I can control what I put in my body. I can choose to eat more nutrient-dense foods that I know will be helping to support my health and well-being.
And immunity.
Of course, right now, in addition to 6 months from now. So like I said before, it really goes back to the basics. It doesn't have to be too complicated when it comes to supporting your health. It goes back to eating fruits, vegetables that you enjoy for yourself. Some lean protein, whether you're vegetarian, vegan, whether you want to do, whatever or plant-based, chicken, fish, whatever, but find out what works best for yourself when it comes to that. We also can't control what the government does as far as, I can't go to the beach, I can't do this.
Yeah.
But I can get out of the house. I've got a bike available. I'll go for a bike ride. I'll go and bike in the neighborhood for an hour, get my body moving, like you're saying, out in nature, which feels really good.
And you can control that. You can control.
Correct. What we do. We can also control our physical foods we put in our mouth and our bodies, but we can also informational foods.
Right. What we spoke about before.
Correct. Processed foods, like watching the news all day. That's processed, dirty, bad foods, which is not going to support our health and well-being. So that's controllable, that we can control whether we decide to watch CNN or whatever all day and
also,
get a free.
Controlling it in terms of what I do, which is I'll stay informed of it, through articles online that I click on, and then I control that, because when you click on the TV, you can control.
Exactly.
Next.
Exactly. It's the same thing as nutrient-dense foods, nutrient-dense information. It's processed versus real and natural or organic foods that support our body and well-being. So that's when I took. Yeah, I heard that on a podcast recently. Okay, this makes so much sense. Are you feeding our body and you're feeding your mind? The same difference. And it goes back to what we were talking about on scrolling on Facebook. Are you scrolling through and listening to people, bitch and moan? Or you're scrolling through and learning about, okay, what can you do for yourself? Or this positive thing happened. This guy that was 102 years old, who made it through the Spanish flu and world wars and Vietnam War and decades and decades. He made it through decades and decades of his life, through all the things happening. He got COVID, but his immune system was strong enough to beat it or to make it through. So that's a cool freaking story. Yeah, it's a cool freaking story. I'd rather learn about that than other things and see that as a sign of hope that if his immune system is strong enough and he's okay to be able to make it through, we can do what we can to support our health and well-being.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Rather than just saying, oh, this guy was, and not to put anyone down, about the percent lifestyle, but to more of a positive aspect of, if he can do it, if he's all right, if he has the family support for himself to get himself through it, great. That's an awesome story. I want to know more about that. Then I want to know more about, oh, this person was tested positive. Okay. Well, there are many people that are tested positive that made it through. It's horrible what happened, but I'd rather concentrate more on, okay, let's see more and more of this positive information and how we can get through it mentally and physically from both perspectives. So that's kind of what I've taken from it. Control what you can control from your foods and also from your information as well.
Absolutely. I love that. Did they, out of curiosity, mention the man that was 102? Did they mention any of his regimens with health, or?
I don't remember. Good. I don't remember specifically. I've seen a couple of those similar stories. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember, his vitamin D levels or anything specifically, but the fact that he did make it through is a pretty cool story.
Yes.
overall. And I want to, like I said, I want to see more of that than the other stuff, which is just gets overwhelming. And from a physiological perspective as well, if you listen to too much news, too much negativity, okay, you get
Mhm.
anxiety. It just
Absolutely.
goes in your chest and your lungs and everything. Oh
Right.
crap, my chest hurts. Do I have COVID?
Right. It
So,
all affects each other. It's
correct. So
chicken,
even if
egg,
you have anxiety,
mind, body.
exactly, that might make you think, oh crap, I can't breathe. Did I get the virus? No, I just have anxiety.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And I hear people, just people, friends, family,
yeah,
clients saying, I've got a physical pain in my chest. I've got a physical pain here. I wonder if I need a COVID test. And, the thing is sure, of course you can get yourself tested, but, are you making sure that, are you doing the deep breathing? Are you doing the journaling? Are you
right,
meditating, spending time in nature? Limiting news, yoga, whatever your self-care practice is, making sure you're on that regimen and you're eating the right foods and you're taking vitamins. Are you speaking positively to yourself? And,
correct.
saying this is only temporary, things will get better. So, you know, we've got a lot
Cover
of
all
people
your bases.
listening. Like, I'm wondering, do they have any questions about, how to support themselves during COVID or, about their health and well-being? I want to just throw that out there because some people have been
Of course,
listening
we'd
since
love to
11.
hear from everyone.
Yeah. Anybody have any burning questions about their health, about,
You,
self-care?
yourself, family members that you might want some information for as well.
Sorry, repeat that.
I was referring to the audience, if anyone has any questions that might help themselves or their family members as well, that
Oh,
might be
yeah,
experiencing some things as well.
absolutely. That's a good question, Chris. You can ask for someone else, certainly.
There you go. And one thing that we're looking at the screen as well. One thing
Yeah.
that I've mentioned in previous videos that I think you've seen as well is the power of connection, and vitamin C
Mhm.
is the most important form of vitamin C we need is connection. And that's something that's, like, imagine I was networking and I was out and about and just being a person in a sense. And that's been more important than ever over the past couple of months or so.
I
And I
agree.
really, like, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciated reconnecting with you
Yeah,
as a
same
person,
here.
as a friend, and now working together. And that's just the simple things we can do is just connect with a friend.
Yeah,
If you're
absolutely.
thinking of someone you haven't talked to in a while, or you're like, how's so and so doing? Just by texting them and saying, hey, Alexia, I've been thinking about you. Hope you're doing well. You might be doing great, or you might be just kind of like, I'm doing okay. But just by me texting you or someone texting you, that can make your day. Just
Yeah.
by letting
Hi,
you or
Alex.
someone else know that you're thought of, you're appreciated,
Hmm.
and we're all going to get through this together. So in order to help get through this together the best way possible, we can do what we can to do a FaceTime or a chat like this with one another. Even though we're not together, we still know that we're here for one another. So just from a
It looks like
psychological,
we have a comment.
awesome.
Um, that's from Marissa. She's saying everybody's anxiety is at an all-time high, which I agree with. And even people who never had anxiety prior, what advice do you have for someone who's older that may not necessarily think anxiety is real? Yeah, that's a really good question. So I wish there was hi Gus. I wish there was a way to chat in, like, to hear their voice, because so we could go back and forth,
Yeah,
but she can just type. Not thinking anxiety is real. I'm trying to just process through that, Maris. um that's that's really, like, I'm trying to compare that to, like, my experiences with working with parents who were not aware that sort of like ADHD was a real thing. So, I would kind of describe it to them in terms of sort of hyperactivity, right? Because we all know, like, hyperactivity is a real thing, right? And she said, AK, like an older man. Okay, yeah. So, you know, my advice for that, because there's men in my family, there's just men that I know of, that men in general, right? Society sort of, we have this standard for men, and, you know, not allowing them to feel emotions, or sort of not talking it through with them as a child. They may not think it's real, especially an older man at this point, right? We're not going to diagnose him with anxiety at this point, right? So what I would say is, we need to find something that calms this older man, because he is experiencing anxiety. Nobody has ever experienced anything like this in their lives with COVID, right? The older generations are beside themselves with the virus and with other things going on in the world. This is very stressful for them, right? They're not aware of their bodily sensations, right? So we need to find something that calms him. You know, earlier in the chat, I spoke about finding a self-care practice that works best for you, right? So it could be as simple as, you know, would he do something like take a walk? It's all about what this older man is going to do, because if I have a client that's sort of, I could suggest the journaling, I could suggest the walks, I could suggest yoga, listening to music. It's all about what is he going to do and what's going to work. So if you could be a person in his life that knows that anxiety is real, and we don't have to have discussions about, you know, this is anxiety and this is what you need to do, but more so maybe saying, hey, you want to go for a walk? Or, hey, do you know, making sure that when he's kind of getting in that space where anxiety is popping up, that he has something. Is it, you know, music? You know, what could it be for him? Is anything coming to mind?
It's something, meet yourself where you are, to find out what's going to work best for you in the moment. You can't tell them to do yoga if yoga is not for them.
Yeah, no, you can't force somebody into yoga for a fact. You can't force somebody into anything for a fact. It could be as simple as, you know, just some movement, or even spending time with family or loved ones, getting outside. You know, if you're stuck in the house all day, I don't think that's going to promote good, you know, that's going to kind of work for decreasing anxiety or depression. And she said labeling it would make it worse. Yeah. And actually, I'm glad you brought that up about labeling, because, you know, my work with psychology, the whole first half of meeting with somebody, you're assessing and diagnosing, right? And making a determination as far as a disorder. And the reason that has to happen politically, like logically, logistically rather, is you have to submit a diagnosis to the insurance companies for me to treat you, right? So with soul, and it's stepping a step away from psychology, which is just wellness, is that I don't make diagnoses, because when a client hears that they have depression or bipolar or anxiety, you actually feel really shitty, right? And that label does hurt, and that label does make it worse, right? I think the only time that it can make it better is you can learn about yourself, and you can learn about what treatment approaches work best. So I can work through that in my head. If I'm meeting with you and I know it's anxiety, I can then know that we need to do some guided meditations and visualizations and positive self-talk, right? So it's helpful for me to help you, but why do I need to tell you that, you know, you have bipolar, or you have, you know, and you need to consult with that with your physician and you know, whoever else. Marissa made another comment. Yeah, no, you cannot tell somebody that is 60 that there's something wrong with them. Yeah, and they made it this far. Exactly. I don't think it's helpful at that point. I think, you know, if it's a young child or somebody, you know, our age, Marissa, that's a different story, because we're more okay with that. We're more okay with, you know, I have anxiety myself and I'll say it. But someone who's 60 years old is not going to want to hear that. So I think if you can make a couple suggestions for him that, you know him, so you know what his interests might be, you know, maybe, who knows, maybe it's drawing, maybe it's, you know, I don't know him, but I feel that you can do this, and I feel that you can help him by just making some suggestions and not talking about anxiety. Anybody else have any other questions that they want to throw out?
I'll just share a brief story as we watch the feed. I'm very close with my 92-year-old Italian grandmother in North Brunswick, and she's still drives. She's. I told her yesterday. She's like, I really just miss going into a store and just browsing around and just looking at things and picking out what I want. She's like, I'm tired of doing curbside pick, which I can understand. I wouldn't want her to get out of the car unnecessarily.
Yeah.
But she's starting to drive more and get around more. And she said it really does feel good just to drive around, just to drive through Farrington Lake in North Brunswick, East Brunswick area, see the nature, see people, and so forth. So even something as simple as getting out, taking a drive to the beach, or just seeing people. You don't have to get out of the car. You can if you don't want to, but just getting out and seeing people living in nature. For me, that was like, okay, life is moving. Life is not at a standstill right now. There are buildings going up. There are houses being made. So something, even starting very simple like that, can help support maybe the release of an anxiety-related state.
Yeah, I agree. I think it could be something really simple. Like you said, taking a drive is a good one. Putting on music that relaxes you is a good one. You know?
I think really just seeing people, I think being stuck inside sucks. So just seeing people living and life going on can be a very basic step 1.1 stage, but it means you're kind of moving in the right direction.
Alex said small freedoms. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So just, okay, we can drive. It's legal to drive. We can get here to A to B. We can do this. Okay, this is cool. This felt good. We're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly. And as more things, start to open up, I don't know, also just something to reflect on is just things from the quarantine. Before the quarantine, we were all used to just doing certain things, like going to restaurants, going to, here and there. But now, like with quarantine, we can only do certain things. So I feel like I've spent a lot of time just doing simpler things, like things I used to do, but not as often as I do it now, like going to parks or going on hikes, just sitting around, by a lake in nature has been really nice. Hi, Joelle. Yeah, so right, Marissa, people are older and they don't have much else going on. Absolutely. That's so true. That's why it's worth it to try to explore, what is going to be that one little thing? What's going to be something small for them that they can do that's still able, like maybe their hobby you can no longer do, you don't know what they're into. So it's tough, is it going to be a drive to the beach? Is it going to be a walk in the park? Spending time with a pet, that's been really helpful for me. Just anything, any one little thing. For them to
life simple pleasures. Keeping with the life simple pleasures, drawing, writing, walking, etc. It's kind of what we're going back to in a sense.
Yeah, and I mean, also with older people, I'm just thinking about like my own grandparents. My grandma, she'll cook a ton. She still goes and visits friends of hers. She does.
Awesome, that's great.
But that's going to be your comfort level.
Of course.
She'll drive down and go see her sister who lives down near the beach. My grandpa is still working at this time, but his work is also his hobby. He owns a used car business.
Cool.
So I think that really kept him going, Maris, because in the beginning, he really didn't accept the pandemic. He had to shut down, and that was really tough for him, financially. And then I think also in other ways, because that's your life. So you have to just kind of see like, what is it going to be? Because he can still watch racing. That's his hobby. You got to just get in there and really see like, what can we adjust? Like if you can't go to a racing event, we can watch it. It might not be as good, but it's still in that same space and energy, of cars.
That was an awesome question, Marissa. Thank you for that.
It is hard. It is hard when you're stuck in your ways, and it's what people are willing to try, because I've had really tough clients, and I'll just speak from that perspective of everything I tell them, it's that's not for me. And I keep trying, right? You just keep suggesting gently, and eventually I'll notice, after months of working with someone who has been so stubborn in a way of accepting my help, that eventually they're sort of like, hey, you know what I did the other day? I went to a waterfall and like looked around and enjoyed the scenery. And I'm like, really? Like, now where did you get that idea? Like, knowing it was from me. I'm like, so proud of you. So it eventually sinks in. Yeah, you're laughing because you've heard this. This is just so true, because sometimes nobody wants help. You know what I mean? Sometimes nobody wants to hear it. Like it was their idea. Yeah, exactly. They do. They do. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so good, because I've obviously gotten to you, which is good for me because, you know,
it's working.
Yeah, you're not doing your old method of just, you know, sitting around and kind of getting into that bad headspace, but you took a step in the right direction, and that was like a huge thing. So I'm good with it. I think it's your idea all you want, but sometimes it has to be their idea. So this is a good point, because with the older man, maybe it needs to be his idea. Maybe it can't be everybody suggesting things to him and trying to help him all the time. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with me. So maybe he needs to figure this out too. And it be his ideas, if that makes sense.
It's hard to sell him on something he's not willing to buy. If he doesn't want to do it, you can't sell him, and it's not up his alley.
Yeah, you can't force anybody to do anything. Yeah. It is hard for people to ask for help. It's really tough. And I think, you know, part of what I'm trying to do with Soul is that try to reduce some stigma, and try to just be, you know, this could be anyone. This doesn't have to be somebody with a mental health problem. This doesn't have to be anybody with a physical health problem, although it may be both. But, you know, this is just for anybody that sort of may need strategies, may need help with goals, may want to improve something about their health and well-being, or needs alignment with their mind, body, and soul. So, and Chris,
it's a whole body,
what?
It's a whole body package. It all works together.
Yeah, you don't need a diagnosis, you don't need a label, and you don't need to feel something's wrong with you, because you're just a human being having an experience. You're just a human being having an experience, whether you have bipolar, depression, you know, any physical illness. You're just a person, and that's it. Chris, do you want to speak about Rock Your Health a little bit?
Certainly. Rock Your Health is kind of my lifelong mission, my lifelong journey. I've always, if you've seen pictures of me on Facebook, there's pictures of me when I was like 5 years old, back in the mid 80s, like doing a Bruce Springsteen look. And it's kind of always been in me. I've always loved concerts and the energy of live music, and I've kind of but I've kind of always really enjoy the aspect of, okay, what does it take to be a real rock star in your own life? And it's really doesn't have to be dancing on stage, which can be freaking awesome, no matter what. But it's really, what can we do to live our lives to its fullest, and also live our truth, live our mission. I think I mentioned to you in some of my writings as well that you know, I really believe through my personal journey, we've all been getting fired from jobs and just living life. We all have God-given gifts and abilities to share with the world. And that's something that, you know, my grandma's taught me, and I've kind of learned as well, is, okay, some people are born painters. They love painting. God bless you. Do it. Keep on doing it. Find your way to be a painter and really do awesome at it. And that's not even, you know, just do great, love it, live your passion type of thing. And for me, I've always loved helping people. I've always loved making a positive difference in people's lives, like I mentioned before.
Me
as
well.
It's really it's why we work so well together, obviously.
Yes.
And
we have the same goal in mind.
Exactly. It's just really easy.
Something in the comments. Boomy wrote, you know, it's therapeutic to just talk it through, be open to change, and realizing you need help, and that, you know, we touched on stigma being a huge part of it, you know, and it doesn't have
Exactly.
to. Go ahead though.
No, it's all working together, obviously. Even what she said. So rock your health is living your life to its fullest. And living our life. It could be going back to the simple things as far as rock your health. And I did a wellness workshop last January 2019 about how the most important journey we can take in our life is a wellness journey.
Yes.
Our health and wellness, and it really goes back to the simple things as well, is our wellness is going to impact our life in any way, shape, or form. Always. So if you have a really high glycemic carb-based breakfast where you're spiking your blood sugar, you're eating all kinds of carbs, and at 10 or 11 o'clock you're crashing, you're like, I need some Skittles, I need sugar instantly after I just had bagels and pancakes, that's affecting your job. Because most people at 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning are at a job, at a desk, doing something to make a living in a sense.
Right.
So, okay, I'm trying to function my job, but I'm also ready for a nap.
Yeah.
You're not going to function well at the job if you feel like you have to take a nap. So also so that's just the physical aspect of wellness. Your wellness also aspect works together with relationships. Are you whole as a person in a interpersonal boyfriend, girlfriend, just friendly relationships with one another? How are you presenting yourself to people when you're out and about, and so forth? Are you putting together your best self? Are you giving your bodies the nutrients it needs? Are you in a whole safe space center space with yourself to present yourself at a networking event or out and about? So wellness as a journey it impacts all aspects.
We have a similar approach.
It's easy. That's why it's kind of natural, obviously. So that's why wellness.
But too, I think you know it's not obvious for everybody, you know, because I thought, you know, I was zoned in on the mind piece, and really it's much more, you know. And when we worked together at the gym, I think that's when like the health area kind of got introduced. But you know, you kind of get focused on one area more than another, but really you need to focus on your whole self and well-being, and like you said, like relationships with others. So how do you feel after being with that person? Was your energy refreshed or was it depleted? So just picking up on things like that is part of wellness as well. We have another question as well.
If it cuts off in 7 seconds, I will go back on live again.
Okay.
Just so we can